Hello, and welcome to the 2017 City of Riverside City Council debates. My name is Damien O'Farrell, and I'm the president of the Raincross Group. The Raincross Group maintains a vision for the City of Riverside as a city with a strong, vibrant economy and a quality of life that is second to none. This depends upon elected and appointed leaders who demonstrate strong leadership by the way of effective government, vision, transparency, and political courage. This also depends upon citizens remaining informed and engaged in the civic process, supporting our leaders as well as holding them accountable, and each doing our part to contribute to our well-being. Riverside is a city that's growing with a rich history, 3 established universities and the Riverside Community College District, a strong business community, and excellent cultural and social institutions, among many other incredible assets. The Raincross Group believes that with the recent passing of Measure Z, we have a unique opportunity to build upon our successes and ensure a bright future. It's the elected officials, the leaders on our city council, who maintain the ultimate responsibility to set our city's priorities and make decisions about our resources that will move us forward and keep us safe. The city council members also play crucial roles on regional bodies concerning issues that affect all of us. It's one of the great privileges that we have as citizens to elect those who we feel are the most qualified to lead in this way. And we have 3 seats on the City Council that are up for election this June. These seats are those that represent Wards 2, 4, and 6. To this end, the Raincross Group is proud to co-sponsor the 2017 City Council debates along with the PIC Group, the Press Enterprise, and Charter Communications. It's our hope that these debates will help you make an informed decision based on an understanding of each candidate's qualifications, visions, and plans. Our moderator for the debate will be Brad Pomerance, popular host of Charter Local Edition. A recording will be available through Charter's Community Access channel as well as the Raincross Group's website for your review and to share with your neighbors. Remember, this June's election is through a mail-in ballot. So please don't forget to vote before June 6th, and then stay engaged. Thank you for joining us, and please enjoy the debates.
Thank you, Damien. My name is Brad Pomerance. You are joining the 2017 Raincross Riverside City Council debates. We are speaking with the candidates for Ward 4, the candidates for that election, which will be held on June 6th. And by the way, it's an all-mail-in election, so be sure to mail in your ballot. Must be postmarked June 6th, or you can drop it off at a designated center. The candidates for that seat are Chuck Conder. Mr. Conder is a retired military officer, and Paul Davis. Mr. Davis is the incumbent councilman and a small businessman. Of course, this debate is brought to you by the Raincross Group, the Press Enterprise, the PIC Group, Charter Communications, and we'd also like to acknowledge and thank the Neighborhood Alliance and the group for giving feedback on the questions which will be presented today. Each individual will have a chance to respond to questions with 1-minute responses, and then we will have closing statements. We will have no opening statement, so we start with the first question, which we send to Mr. Conder, and that question is, sir, in 2 or 3 sentences, why do you want to serve on the City Council in the next 4 years for Ward 4?
I have dedicated my life to public service, first as a military officer and for the last 10 years serving as the field director for Councilman MacArthur. I have always enjoyed fixing problems. There's always a problem answer. You just have to be willing to find it. And we have made this community our home. I have 3 generations of us now here in the ward, and I want to make sure the city stays safe and viable for them when Grandpa's gone.
Okay, Mr. Davis, same question.
Well, I am the councilman of Ward 4, and I have a vested interest, have lived in the district since 1994, and I have a stake in the game in all sense of the words. We have started the change that I brought to the city of Riverside, and we will continue to make that change for the positive and future of our city. And it has been great transformative change in all aspects of the ward. I look forward to continuing, and we will do so, and our ward will continue to be the best in Riverside and a place to live, work, and play.
Mr. Conder, I want to follow up on something that you mentioned, and that is that you are the aide to a sitting council member, Chris MacArthur. What I want to get a sense from you is how, if at all, do you differ from Mr. MacArthur in terms of policy or otherwise?
Very, very little. Chris and I believe many of the same things, that government must be responsive to the people, that they are the CEOs. We work for them, and it's our job to go out and ask them what we can do for them. For the first 6 or 7 years, Chris and I did what we used to call the Ed Koch model. We'd walk the ward every Saturday morning for 4 hours, neighborhood by neighborhood, and say, how are we doing? What do you need for us to do for you? And he and I believe the same, that we must take care of the people's tax money and make sure it is spent wisely.
So given that you suggest that you are in line with Mr. MacArthur, I want to get a sense of how that would play out if you are elected. During the current term, we know that Mr. MacArthur and Mr. Davis have split on some very important issues. For example, on the issue of a warehouse in Mr. Perry's district, Mr. Davis voted against, Mr. MacArthur voted for. On the question of ambulances, Mr. Davis voted to, I'll say, allow competition. Mr. MacArthur supported the monopoly. So those were two examples of where there was a split that wouldn't exist. Talk us through how that would play out.
Debate is the most important issue in a government, having honest debate. As an officer, you are charged with making tough decisions. You gather the facts, you analyze them. My job is to bring the experts into the room. I'm not an expert on very many things. My job is to facilitate, bring the experts, get the information, do the analysis, and then I will make the hard decisions when necessary for the city. Although Chris and I agree on many things, there has been a few we haven't agreed on. And that's the great thing for us to have that debate.
Let's talk about one area, Mr. Davis, where there was a vociferous disagreement between yourself, Mr. MacArthur, and Mr. Conder, because Mr. Conder was very vocal on this issue. And that was the question of a sister city arrangement with a city in Vietnam, Conder. I believe the vote was 6-1, and Mr. MacArthur was on the no side. Mr. Conder was very vociferous against it. Talk us through why you believe that was in error and the benefits of sister cities, if at all.
Well, sister city programs are about people to people, not governance to governance. The issues we had and the conflicts that we fought over in Vietnam were many decades ago. Being sensitive to the military personnel certainly lives in my district and throughout the city and the region. It was a very touchy situation. We wanted through education and to create the healing, if you will, through that process. But beyond that, the sins of the fathers cannot be visited upon the sins of the sons, and that was one of the big passions that most people were looking at, and I get that. The Sister City program is important to our economic viability, to theirs, especially through education and communication. We create these relationships and friendships so that we do not have those communication problems which create wars and starts problems. Again, we are in this together in a national and worldwide event, and it's important.
Mr. Conder, so let's dig deep into that, because as Mr. Davis describes it, the question with regard to Sister City really wasn't about what happened 40 years ago, but it was about building economic alliances, educational alliances. So how would you respond to that issue when we look at the notion of the sins of the father shouldn't be placed upon the sons?
Let me back up a little bit. There's a very prominent businesswoman here in town that was in New York in 2012 and got a chance to meet the director of the National Sister Cities program. And she asked the question, how many sister cities should we have? And he knew Ron Loveridge, and he said, well, knowing your city in Ron, the answer would be 4. Anything over that is all political game. Now, most cities should have 3, but you guys are so dedicated, you should have 4. Sister cities is supposed to be for the economic benefit of both countries. And Conder, unfortunately, is known as one of the child trafficking centers of that Asia, And it was all political. We
Well,
didn't need
so-
to have another one.
Well, let's dig into that.
Sure.
I mean, it was obviously very important to you. You testified in front of the city council against. Riverside in Inland Empire arguably has the same child trafficking, sex trafficking challenges, given its access and proximity to the port, to the southern border.
Possibly.
And so, despite Canto's challenges, could one not argue but that by aligning with Canto, it's to the benefit? We're actually lifting them up.
Well, again, this is Riverside is a military community, and I've spent my career being around the military heroes that fought for this country. And they were told that if they did not want it, that it would not happen. And I do not know of any of the organizations that were visited by the people that pushed for the sister city that there was a vote in favor of it. Most of the votes were 35, 36 to 1 in the VFW halls, in the Legion halls, in the groups that they went to. These heroes that fought in Vietnam still have a lot of memories and issues, and the same thugs, the same thugs that were running it then are running it now. They've never given us a full accounting of our debt and our MIAs. And unlike Germany and Japan that formed democracies, they're not. They're still hurting their people, and it was just the wrong thing to do.
Aside from the Canto, Mr. Conder mentioned that I guess the golden number is 4 in terms of sister cities. I don't know whom he references. What do you make of that? Do we have too many sister cities? I believe you were involved. I don't know if it was a sister city arrangement bringing solar from China. I don't know if it was through a sister city, but
It was.
Do we have too many?
Well, I think that's the issue that we'll always discuss. I think a city has the sister city relationships to understand that, again, it's people to people. Again, we talked about the sins of the father. Can the sister city have too many? I don't think so. I think that's whatever the city believes that they can handle. To reach out and have the education and certainly the connection to the people of those countries. We don't discuss policy, we don't discuss religion. It's not about that. It's about communication, education, economic development to help both. You mentioned lifting up. Well, in a sense, they lift us as well with their educational exchange. And you mentioned through our China sister city, we were able to bring over SolarMax and then SunSpark as well to the city of Riverside, which has created hundreds of $millions in investment and tens of thousands of jobs overall.
So what about the economic development aspect of Sister City? Take away the politics.
Right.
We can put aside Kanto for a second. Sendai, for example,
Right.
in Japan. I mean, what a gift that was for both cities during the earthquake.
Sister cities are supposed to be for the benefit of both areas. Vietnam is not going to come and build.
But let's put Kanto aside
Sure.
generally.
Kanto
Let's
alone.
talk about, do
economic.
you see an economic benefit toward Sister City arrangements?
Sister city arrangements, it can be. We've done with the wonderful ones in Erlangen, Germany. It can. But Vietnam is not going to come and build factories here and provide jobs here in America. It's just not going to happen.
Let me shift gears and talk to Mr. Davis about jobs more generally. What steps would you take to diversify the local economy, to create high-wage job growth in Riverside? And in your answer, please allow the fact that we have 3 top-class universities in this community. How can they help to build our economy to even greater heights?
Well, you hit the nail on the head there. It is about education. We are a college town, although we haven't recognized that. We're starting to really grasp it more so than in the past. Through our dark fiber initiative that we have signed with the county and getting that out, with the fiber initiative, we can have the speeds that where we can attract our digital markets to come here to allow that our children who are in college and adults who are in college to then work and play and live in the city of Riverside. Right now, we're more retail centered and we need to get across that, but we sell ourselves through that new initiative that we have created, and I've been very instrumental in that initiative for the dark fiber. But beyond that, we're also not really touching the base on a very important aspect of our medical school. We have our first graduating class coming up here, which is incredibly important to us because then that really puts us on the map and keeps our kids here and no more brain drain.
Mr. Conder, on that same question.
University town, we are. We have 3 wonderful and a great community college. Every year there are thousands of kids graduating that can't find jobs. The brain drain continues. We must do a better job of bringing not just warehouse type jobs, minimum wage. We've got to bring jobs that our families can thrive on for generations and continue to grow our city. We have a great development department that goes out. We have an awesome mayor that goes out and is the cheerleader for our city. Quality of life is the #1 reason that people look to bring businesses to a community.
Let's talk about
Sure,
warehouses,
sure.
because that continues to be a source of controversy, not just in Riverside, but the entire Inland Empire.
Absolutely.
On the one hand, you may have warehouses like Amazon come to the IE, and most would say that's been a net positive for the region. Some have concerns about other entities that may come to the IE that they see as not quite as positive. Did you agree, Mr. Conder, I'll start with you, with the vote in favor of bringing a large warehouse project into what some would call a residential neighborhood? This was, I believe, in Mr. Perry's.
Now, I believe it was in Ward 1. I think it was the North Side vote. I was in favor of putting the moratorium on it until we got the people together to talk. Now, developers have the right to develop, but you got to be a good neighbor. You've got to be working with the people. And I didn't want to see it pushed and rushed through.
So this is an example of where you differ from your current boss, Chris MacArthur, because he did vote in favor of.
He did, and Chris and I talked about it. I'm in favor of it happening if they work with the people and make sure the development's going to happen. The North Side's going to grow. It's going to be an important part of our city.
Mr. Davis, in whose ward was this?
Actually, the most recent one was Ward 2. The previous one was in Ward 1 over off of Orange.
Was that Mr. Perry's
and
ward?
Main
That's
Street.
Mr.
No,
Gardner's.
Gardner is Ward 1 and Andy Melinda is Ward 2.
Okay.
The most recent one in Sycamore Canyon is, I think, what you're referring to, and that is in Ward 2.
I guess what I'm trying to gather is if the councilman for the area is in favor of a particular project, how much deference should other council members give?
Well, I think that you have to look at that deference because of the fact that they carry the word and the support and the voice of the people. In this case, we're talking about the Sycamore Canyon $1.4 million warehouse, where there were 17 different lots already pre-established, and that was what they sold that on, and then people bought their homes. They expected those to be developed, and they knew that. To now change the process into a 1.4 million square foot project, which is 100 feet behind the homes, where the people, as well as the councilman, were very clear, no, we don't want it. And it also bleeds into my district in Ward 4 because we're going to deal with the traffic. And that's why you have to listen to the people. You have to be given deference to the folks who live in that area because it is a significant quality of life issue.
Let's talk about the people. The people spoke loudly in November when they passed Measure Z. Were you in favor of Measure Z, Mr.
I was.
Davis? Were you in favor of Measure Z, Mr. Conder?
In the way it was presented at the end, I had problems with it.
So did you come out publicly
No,
against?
I did not.
Let's talk about the fact that through the passage of Measure Z, we now have a citizen commission getting involved and giving input
Correct.
into how Measure Z funds will be spent. Of course, this is increasing sales tax in the city of Riverside. Other than police and fire, which is what we're hearing from the Citizens Commission and generally, what do you think should be, and I'll just say it simply, the top 3 priorities for Measure Z funds? We'll start with Mr. Davis.
Well, other than fire, you have your infrastructure and paying off the debt. We made it very clear what we're going to be doing is paying off the debt. And then we also spoke about very clearly is what? Our homeless and our quality of life issues. Those are the critical things other than the top priority of public safety.
So you would say your top 3 are debt, homeless, and
Infrastructure.
Mr. Conder.
Okay, the first thing is the people were promised that it would go to programs that they asked for. That is what we as council members have to ensure that happens. Obviously, I believe that public safety police is the most important issue up in Ward 4.
But other than that issue, the top 3.
Streets. The streets in our area are absolutely a mess. There's weeds growing. You have to get a weed whacker out to get weeds out of the middle of the streets. We've got to take care of that because that's the broken window theory. This is one of the newest areas of our city, and it looks terrible.
So we have infrastructure, second?
And the third one needs...
What's second?
Well, the first would be police and fire.
Okay.
The second would be the infrastructure, the streets, our sidewalks. There were broken sidewalks. There were panels you could stick your fingers in between the sidewalk and the panel. It's been like that for 6 or 7 years. It's not been fixed. People are tired of it. Third has got to be the homeless. It's attacking our businesses, our families, And the homeless is really a three-part issue, and they've got to be worked simultaneously.
And let's talk about homeless in a moment,
Absolutely.
because I want to get to you. Would you concur with Mr. Conder's assessment of the roads in Ward 4?
Well, I think he's talking about Ward 5. Ward 4 is not in what he says. He can talk all he wants, and this is how he has a tendency to scare people and who to blame for it.
I got pictures on the phone if you want to see them.
Are all the wards in my city, of all the wards, we are the best. Casablanca is all new. Even his own neighborhood, brand new roads, brand new concrete, everything, all the main thoroughfares. The last area to get to is Orange Crest, and we have to save the money to it so we don't piecemeal and waste a good 30%. I walk the wards, I know where they're at. I can pick out anything from any ward and say it's tore up. It's all about who to scare and who to blame. The fact of the matter is Ward 4 is the best ward in the city of Riverside. I challenge that against Ward 5, which he's worked in for 10 years and has done nothing. My business is there. I know firsthand what that looks like and what to deal with it because of my customers, and I do go out on deliveries with my folks. Ward 4, I challenge him, show me, let's see it.
How would
Go
you
for a walk
respond-
after, I'd be glad.
How would you respond to the suggestion that while Ward 4 roads are in fine shape, Ward 5 roads are not, and you are the council aide for the member in Ward 5?
Again, absolutely one of his misstatements that he loves to make. Every part of the city has it. I could spend $50 million in the city paving roads and still not have enough to do it with. We have worked hard. We've walked our neighborhoods. We go out, unlike the incumbent, and we sit in people's living rooms. We knock on doors. We sit there. And in walking Ward 4 for the last 2.5 months, I've got picture after picture. I have got video. The streets are a mess. They're broken. And again, my job is to ask them, Mr. Pomerance, at your door, what is your #1 issue? Fix my streets. 25 years they've not been sealed. 25 years the cracks have not been taken care of. They want their infrastructure fixed. They just want their share, and they're tired of the scraps.
Let's talk about one of the biggest scourges on all of local government, and that is pension costs.
Yep.
Riverside, despite being in fairly good shape fiscally over the last 10 years during the recession, faces a continued increase in pension costs.
Yes.
What we see is CalPERS, CalSTRS, whoever it is, wants more money put into the pension, and yet the returns aren't as great as we all hope. So my question very simply, we'll start with Mr. Conder, is how would you pay for these increasing pension costs as a member of the City Council?
Well, the city manager has already said that $30 million of the first 50 is going to go to pay off the pension bond that is sitting on top of us. So do I agree with that totally? It's not what was promised to the people. Infrastructure, police, fire, homeless, those are things that were promised to the people. But we need to, first of all, make sure that we are not going to become the next San Bernardino.
Mm-hmm. Let's get to Mr. Davis if we can, just because we're running low on time.
Well, the issue that you have here is pretty clear. We took the actions just recently to pay off the $30 million. Through my motion to delay until this coming up here shortly in May, where the BEC, our Budget Engagement Commission, can now review our proposal, provide their feedback, and then we go forward on that. We will pay that $30 million off in 10 years. However, our 2 other remaining bonds on those will be paid off here very shortly, and they have been paid out very much so rather quickly. A lot more people don't understand quite that set. We have to be very good stewards of the public funds, and we get that, and we are, and we've got to be very careful with how we utilize the Measure Z funds by themselves. And we got to make sure that our Tier 1 employees and all the other employees through the new pay plan are getting to their 8%, and what's what we need to do for all of our employees. Pay their share.
We're running low on time. I do want to talk about homelessness because we did say we would. Mr. Davis, how much of Measure Z funding should go to homelessness? How much should we rely on the county to help? What about the state? Should we go to our voters like Los Angeles City and County did?
Well, it's a partnership. We have Measure Z funds, but that's not where we're going to get 100% of it. The governor has, our Back to Home program, and that we have funds available. We need to reach out and be applied for those grants. There's $50 million and certainly $2 billion for rapid rehousing, a lot of things with mental illness. We need to partner with the county, and it has to be a partnership through our entire cities of 28 around in our cities and counties themselves. How we do that is we make sure that we are not the destination for the homeless, but we got to provide services, and we've got to not use the iron fist approach that my colleague in Ward 5 and certainly my opponent is aware of, and that's what they want to do. It's no longer about that, a different approach to where we engage, we enhance, we educate, we get people in the homes and off the
So,
street.
1 minute.
here's the politician over here wanting to spend more money, build more programs. Programs exist. We have to do a better job of using the county and the state programs that exist and putting our homeless together with them, bringing them back to be citizens. There's 3 components to it. There are the absolute ones that have suffered a financial or personal problem. They take the help immediately. There are mental health issues on the street. We've got to work with the county programs to get them the help that they need. And there are the criminals, AB 109, 47, and 57 are dumping into our neighborhoods. That is handled by more police, more patrol, more safety.
10 more seconds so we
And
can
that
get
is
you
where
closing.
we're going to put our money when I'm the council member. We're going to take care of our people in Ward 4 who have been ignored.
Okay, closing statements now. I want to start with Mr. Conder. Please feel free to address the camera.
31 years ago, I came to this city. I've been asked in the past to run for the council, and I said no. But this time, I just could not say no, because things have gotten worse in the last 8 years. We are not better off than we were 8 years ago, and everyone whose door I knock on the last 2 months has agreed. Mail theft wasn't a problem 8 years ago. Our residents don't feel safe in their neighborhoods. Our streets are falling apart despite what he says. Go up there and look, there's grass in the streets. Our choking debt is going to take into our children's future. We can't allow that to happen. Homeless issues are affecting our businesses, our families. We have to do a better job. As I've done for Councilman MacArthur for 10 years, and as I did in the Air Force, I will go to work for you. I'm not going just to make an effort. I'm going to get results for our city, our future, for my children and grandchildren, and every person that calls this beautiful city home.
Thank you, Mr. Conder. Mr. Davis.
Let's gauge my report card, the latest City of Riverside Economic Outlook highlights. Let's talk about it. Consumer spending in 2016 is up by 3.2%. Average annual wage is up 4.5% to $47,000 on the average. Job creation in the City of Riverside is up 3.5%, which outpaces all the inland region. Home sales and prices are up over 8%. Non-residential permits have risen 20%. And why? I have streamlined Riverside, eliminated bureaucracy, created jobs and opportunities through economic development efforts, policies, and planning. Policies that I helped create through experience and best practices. I eliminated barriers of entry for entrepreneurs entering markets and increased competition with lower cost and provided for better services to our residents. Riverside continues to pay off our debt. This month we paid off $20 million, and this past Tuesday we authorized paying off our employee pensions within the next 10 years or sooner. The fact is that through my engagement through our residents, state, national, international partners, I have been an instrument of change for our city, our governments, of people, and the opportunities for Ward 4 forever. We went from an onerous, overbearing, and rule-laden bureaucracy to a customer service, very focused and lean organization that effectively serves our citizens and businesses.
I want to thank you so much for joining us, Paul Davis, Chuck Conder. On behalf of Raincross, the PE, the PIC Group, and Charter Communications, I'm Brad Pomerance. Thank you for joining us on the 2017 Raincross Riverside City Council debates.